Long before the dinosaurs ruled the earth, before crocodiles lurked in rivers, before mammals even existed, the swamps of our planet were ruled by something else. Something ancient. Something that looked like a reptile, but wasn't. Imagine standing beside a silent prehistoric river. The air is thick and the water is black. Nothing moves. Then suddenly, a pair of eyes breaks the surface. A massive jaw opens beneath the water, lined with hundreds of teeth. And before you realize what you're looking at, you're gone. These were the Temnospondyls, a group of amphibian predators that dominated Earth's freshwater ecosystems for nearly 200 million years. Some looked like giant salamanders and others looked like crocodiles, and a few grew so large that they rivaled the biggest reptiles that would evolve millions of years later. To understand Temnospondyls, we need to travel back more than 320 million years. The planet was almost unrecognizable. Vast swamp forests stretched across entire continents. Towering lycopod trees rose more than 100 feet tall. The ground was covered in giant ferns, and the air buzzed with insects the size of birds. But the most dangerous creatures weren't flying overhead. They were hiding in the water. Because in the Carboniferous period, the largest predators weren't reptiles, they were amphibians. Temnospondyls began appearing during this time, evolving from earlier four-limbed vertebrates, and they spread rapidly. Over millions of years, they diversified into dozens of strange forms, ranging from the small insect hunters to massive aquatic predators. But almost all of them shared something unsettling: their skulls. Temnospondyl skulls were thick, flat, and covered in ridges that looked almost carved from stone. And their teeth were something different. They were called labyrinthodont enamel, where enamel folds inwards like a maze, perfect for gripping slippery prey. And many species had eyes placed high on the skull, allowing them to hide underneath the water while watching the world above, just like something waiting. One of the earliest giants in this group was the Euryalps megacephalus. Euryalps lived around 295 million years ago during the early Permian period. At about 6 feet long, it was one of the dominant predators of its ecosystem, and it looked terrifying. Euryalps had a massive block-like skull, thick muscular limbs, and a heavy body built for dragging itself across swampy ground. Unlike many later Temnospondyls, Euryalps could walk on land. Slowly, heavily, but nevertheless terrestrial. Imagine a salamander the size of a wolf, with the skull of a crocodile. It probably hunted along riverbanks waiting for prey to approach the water. Fish, small reptiles, even other amphibians. And once Euryalps grabbed something, those labyrinth teeth made it almost impossible to escape. As terrifying as the Euryalps was, if you fast forward 5 million years, which is now 290 million years ago, another strange predator had appeared in the rivers of prehistoric Europe. Its name was Archegosaurus. At first glance, Archegosaurus looks exactly like a crocodile. Long snout, streamlined body, and a long powerful tail. But this creature wasn't a reptile. It, like the Euryalps, was still an amphibian, and in fact scientists believe Archegosaurus kept external gills even as an adult, meaning it likely spent its entire life in the water. Imagine a crocodile that never comes onto land, a silent aquatic predator gliding through dark Permian rivers, waiting for fish to pass overhead and then striking upward with lightning speed. Like the Euryalps, this was a formidable predator, but none of these early Temnospondyls compare to what came next. The Middle Permian is where things get very complicated. About 270 million years ago, a monster appeared in South American rivers. This time, it was Prionosuchus, and it may have been the largest amphibian that ever lived. Estimates suggest Prionosuchus reached nearly 30 feet long. Let that sink in. A 30-foot amphibian, its skull alone stretched over 5 feet. Its long narrow jaws resembled those of a modern gharial crocodile, but again, this was not a reptile. This was an amphibian predator lurking beneath the surface of prehistoric rivers. If you were an animal coming to drink during the Permian, there's a good chance something enormous was already watching you from below. All three of these massive predators lived during the Permian period, and as you know, the worst disaster happened during this period. At around 252 million years ago, something happened that wiped out nearly everything alive: the Permian Triassic mass extinction. Volcanoes erupted for thousands of years, oceans lost almost all of their oxygen, and temperatures skyrocketed, and up to 90% of all species vanished. Entire ecosystem collapsed, the swamps emptied, and many Temnospondyls disappeared forever. But a few survived, and what came next was even stranger. In the harsh new world of the Triassic period, life slowly began to recover. Dinosaurs had not yet fully evolved or taken over, and for a while, Temnospondyls returned to dominance. Some of the most bizarre species in their history appeared during this time. Mastodonsaurus is the first one that we're going to talk about. One of the strangest Triassic predators was Mastodonsaurus. Living around 240 million years ago, this animal could grow up to 20 feet long, but its most terrifying feature was its skull. Mastodonsaurus had a head nearly 4 feet wide, flat, heavy, and armored with thick bone. Its eyes sat on top of the skull, allowing it to hide almost completely underwater. Only the eyes and nostrils remained visible, waiting. Two enormous tusk-like teeth from the lower jaw actually pierced through holes in the upper jaw when its mouth was closed. To any fish swimming above, the attack would have been instantaneous. Another Triassic species was Metaposaurus. This amphibian lived around 220 million years ago, and its skull was unbelievably wide, and also shaped like a boomerang. What makes Metaposaurus truly eerie is the fossil evidence. In several locations around the world, paleontologists have discovered mass graves of these animals, hundreds of individuals buried together. Scientists think that during these droughts, entire populations became trapped in sinking pools of water, and the ponds dried. They died together. Imagine walking across a Triassic landscape and finding a dried lake bed filled with hundreds of giant amphibian skeletons. While in hindsight they may look weak ecologically because they were very susceptible to different temperature changes and drying lake beds, what makes this super scary is the fact that there were hundreds of them, meaning that there were hundreds of these giant predators lurking around in the Triassic waters. One of the most fascinating things about Temnospondyls is how often they evolved shapes that looked almost identical to reptiles. Many species resembled crocodiles, long jaws, flat bodies, and eyes on top of their heads, but reptiles hadn't taken those roles yet. Temnospondyls did. This is an example of convergent evolution, when unrelated animals evolved the same body plan because they lived the same lifestyle. Evolution kept discovering the same design for aquatic ambush predators, and it kept arriving at the same solution: a silent hunter beneath the water. What is truly unclear is if frogs and different amphibians are their direct descendants. While closely related, it is still unclear. Some scientists believe modern amphibians like frogs and salamanders may have evolved from temnospondyl ancestors, and if this idea is correct, then every frog croaking in a pond today is the distant descendant of creatures like Uriops, Mastodonsaurus, and Prionosuchus, tiny echoes of monsters that once ruled the swamps. Unfortunately for the Temnospondyls, their time did come to an end. As the Triassic continued, reptiles began to take over. Early crocodile relatives appeared, dinosaurs started rising, and the giant amphibians slowly declined. But Temnospondyls were resilient. Some survived for over 100 million years after the dinosaurs first evolved. A few may have lived all the way into the early Cretaceous period. Then they vanished. After dominating Earth's freshwater ecosystems for nearly 200 million years, the amphibian monsters disappeared, leaving behind only fossils buried in ancient riverbeds. For hundreds of millions of years, the most dangerous creatures on Earth weren't dinosaurs. They weren't reptiles, they were amphibians, flat-headed giants hiding beneath black water, predators with labyrinth teeth and crocodile jaws. The Temnospondyls ruled a world long forgotten, and if modern frogs really are their descendants, then every quiet pond today may still carry a tiny piece of that ancient nightmare. If you enjoyed this dive into prehistoric amphibian predators, subscribe for more deep dives into ancient life, and let me know in the comments which prehistoric creature should we uncover next. This is a much shorter video than what I would like to do in the future, so if you are interested in more analytical and stronger deep dives, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as well, and thanks for watching.